Tracy doing our invocation.
Bless the Lord in true ways, and us with thy service. We ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
I want to thank Jeff. It looks like he has left, but he greeted people, so I want to thank him. And I would like to open the floor. I see guests, so I'm going to start over here with Charlie.
My guest today is my wife, Donna. I have another guest that's sitting up at the speaker table. It's an important looking fellow. Sheriff and Duncan.
We have another guest right here. John, do you have the
I have the microphone.
John.
My guest today is Heather Whitaker Goldstein. She's the candidate for a Superior Court judge. She's been out on the campaign trail every place I've been. We've all become like family. You know, it's really amazing. It becomes all of it. Anyway, I want to let Heather introduce herself here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be invited today. And I'll try not to take too much time in the program. I'm not sure what's appropriate, but I would love to just tell you a little bit about me because, like all the candidates, I would very much appreciate to have your vote. My name is Heather Whitaker Goldstein. I'm originally from this community. I grew up out in Fairview. My father was a physician at Mission Hospital, and my mom was a teacher at Fairview Elementary School. And I graduated from Reynolds High School, and then I was away for 10 years studying first at Duke University, which is how I met some of the Ivies over there. And Mr. George Ivy was very instrumental in getting me admitted to Duke University, and I'm very grateful for that. And then I studied at the George Washington Law School in Washington, D.C. And I worked in D.C. for almost 2 years after graduating. I worked for a federal judge in Alexandria and then in a law firm there before I was able to come back home. And have been home for 12 years. My husband owns his own commercial real estate company, GM Property Group. Some of you may know him through that. And we have 4 beautiful children. And I have worked here as an attorney at McGuire Wood & Bissett. I practiced law in Superior Court for a number of years, and I've also been the executive director at the Jewish Community Center for the last 7 years. And if you're not familiar with the JCC, we do a pretty broad range of human services work. We take care of children, we take care of seniors, and we do counseling and a lot of different supportive services for people at all phases of their life. And so I'm now seeking to be elected as a Superior Court judge here in Buncombe County. I would, in that role, combine both what I know, having practiced law as an attorney in Superior Court, with my background both as a business manager and as someone who has worked in human services. I think gives me a pretty broad perspective on our community, what it's like to be a business owner, what it's like, what the challenges of our community are, and I think that's a very, very important lens for a judge to look through when making decisions that impact the people in our community. So I would like to be your first choice on the ballot. I have some cards that I'll circulate, and when you vote, you actually have to turn the ballot over to the back of the page and drop and look at the very bottom. It's the very, very last race. Please don't give up until you have found my name on the back of that ballot. And it's the first instant runoff vote we've ever had in Buncombe County. When you see it, it will say, rank your first choice, second choice, third choice. It's not a regular vote where you just pick one of 2 candidates. This is a rank, first, second, and third. I would like to be your first choice, and I hope you will mark me that way. Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you.
Before you sit down, we have one requirement of political guests.
and that is our application to become a member. John, did you have something more?
And one additional thing to what Heather said is her husband Jeremy is on my board of directors, so I just want to say that too, which I am pleased with. Good news. Anybody have good news? And we have $9 for the raffle, but do you have good news to share?
Larry.
Oh, you have a guest. I'm very sorry. Please do.
Today is teaching at Asheville High. Scott Kissinger, he's a guest book artist today, and he's welcome to join anytime you want.
Okay, here's 50-50.
Ticket number, the last three is 613. 613.
613. Hey, big winner. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move us right into the program. We have our sheriff with us, Sheriff Van Duncan. I do want you to know that Dickie Green was invited, but we just have our sheriff with us. And what I want to say about him is his wife's on my board, so which I'm very excited about. He just was at the Clinton event, and I think he will have some wonderful things to say to us about what that was like for him to have a former president here. So give the microphone to Sheriff Duncan.
Good afternoon, Civitans. Can you guys hear me okay?
Hello, Civitan.
Hello, Civitans. It's great to be back here with you today. I've been here several times before. Now, Heather, they're not picking on you. They gave me a membership, and I am a supporting member of this Civitan Club, and I have been since I came here the first time. Great to be with you this afternoon. I want to come talk with you a little bit about some of the progress that we've made at your sheriff's office from the first time I was here to talk with you a little over 4 years ago. Don't want to dwell on very much negative, but what I will tell you, about 3 to 4 weeks in, after I was elected, well, actually after I took office, there was a brief period of time there before we were sworn in. About 3 or 4 weeks in, all this stuff started with the former sheriff and coming out in the newspaper. And I remember sitting there at that desk thinking, what have I done? What a mess, and what have I done? And what I'm going to tell you, because of the efforts of the men and women at that sheriff's office, and everybody being ready to come together and work and move forward and rebuild and regain community trust and start being an agency that people were proud to be a member of, we have come a long ways in the past 4 years. I'm very proud of this. Listen, I'm going to get right into some statistics because I'm going to leave some opportunity for you guys to ask questions after, and I want to answer any questions, anything that you might be hearing out in the public. I would appreciate the opportunity to answer anything that you might have questions about. One of the first things we did when we came into office, we had 2 major problems looming. One is we had a property and evidence room that we had some issues with that we were afraid of being able to prosecute cases out of. The other is, as the federal lawsuit moved forward, we found out that a lot of people had our badges and our credentials and shouldn't have our badges and credentials. And what we had to do immediately was buy new badges and buy new credentials to be able to separate us, the new administration starting forward, from the old. They actually had 2 folks who were facing federal charges that when they arrested them, they had Duncan County badges and IDs. So we had to move forward out of that problem. The next thing that we did and re-credentialing and re-badging pretty much fixed that. The next issue we have with the property and evidence room is we had to go downstairs and basically have the county come in and work with us and move everything from the old administration into some Quonset hut storage units and start rebuilding that property and evidence room. I went to the city police department and we hired away Maria Risnick, who is a professional property and evidence that John knows very well. Very professional evidence room tech. She's an evidence tech. She's not a sworn officer. Her college degree and all her professional training lets her do that property and evidence job. And we started using our computer system to log in and out of evidence, every piece of evidence that comes in. So we've got a handle on that. We have county audits that come in, which we have passed up until this day, and everything is as it should be. We've had no issues with prosecuting cases moving forward. We had another issue. We had slow response times to calls, and the one that concerned me most particularly was our emergency response time to get officers out to emergency, what EOC refers to as P and P1 calls, which might have some life-threatening component in the call. We were running right around 12 minutes when we took office, and we felt like that we needed to be able to bring that down to 10 minutes or under, that was reasonable. You guys know how big Duncan County is? 656 square miles. And I always thought that a whole lot of that was taken care of by other municipalities, but only 9.9% of that 656 square miles lies within another municipality. So that means that 90% of Duncan County, if you receive law enforcement services, you get them from your sheriff's office. So we had to work very hard to get those response times in. First thing we did was we reorganized. We went from a 5-squad system to a 4-squad system and put our folks on 12-hour shifts. And what that allows you to do is it takes the resources you have and it puts the most folks out there at any one time you can with the resources you currently have. It's a long time to work with 12 hours, and there's a lot of things that you can fall with a 12-hour shift, but we had to be very responsible with our resources we had because I knew we were going to have to go after more. Would you like to take a guess the last time a patrol had been added to for the Duncan County Sheriff's Office? 1986 was the last time they increased the numbers on patrol squads at the Duncan County Sheriff's Office. So after we went to 12-hour shifts, which gave us more people out there working on a shift, we looked at our computer system and we found out that our peak call periods or times for calls for service was from 12 in the afternoon to 12 o'clock at night. So instead of going back and asking the commissioners for a round number of officers to put on each squad, we created what's called a power squad, which means it's a shift of officers that come in and work in that 12 to 12 period. And we went back to the commissioners and asked them for 8 additional patrol officers, which they were very gracious and gave to us to be able to go out there and field your calls for service. So with those changes in place, what we have seen is our emergency calls from service go from right at 12 minutes, I think 11.56 or something was the time on those when we went into office, and they're now about 9.5 minutes, 9.33 I believe. So we've got a quicker response time out there, and I feel like we're doing a better job. One thing I hear from everybody out in almost every community is, Sheriff, we see your people out there. And I think that makes a huge difference. That presence out there, I think, is probably one of our best deterrents to crime. Criminal Investigative Division, we were doing exceptionally cleared cases at a rate of 18%. Now, exceptionally clear doesn't necessarily mean that you're making an arrest in every case, but it means you're coming with some successful outcome. You find out that the person in your case has committed a crime over here and they've been arrested in this particular case over here. Or that the people who reported the crime find out that the person who took their belongings was a family member and they don't want to press charges, and so on and so forth. But basically, it's some sort of successful resolution to that case. We saw our exceptionally cleared case rate go from 18% to 48%. I brought with me today the new statistics from my patrol captain, and I made him go back and check those. And he's got them broken down by special investigating units, major case unit, field investigation, our B&E suppression team, and so forth and so on. And what they're showing right now for the first part of 2010 is a 62% clearance rate, which I'm going to have to make him check and make sure that that's correct. The state average runs about 24 to 25%. But point being, they're doing a much better job at clearing those cases and getting some successful resolution. Our detention center. When I took office, we opened up a brand new detention center. The